This video I will be covering Topic 1 Characteristics and Organization of Living Organisms in Biology 0610 Cambridge IGCSE O Levels for the syllabus of 2023 to 2025. So before I come to the main introduction of this topic, I will just have a quick review here with you guys. Starting with the dawn of life. So dawn of life, I don't really mean the dawn of like life, I just mean scientific life, okay? So scientists used to believe that Earth was formed by an enormous cloud of gases about 5 billion years ago, and scientists also believe that in the first and simplest living organisms appeared on Earth about 2.8 billion years ago. These organisms fed on molecules in a sap called a primordial soup made of shallow seas on Earth of that time. It's just a quick review of the past. I guess it's not really that important, but we're gonna actually start off from here. Okay, so characteristics of living organisms. Characteristics of living organisms, how do you memorize these? We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one more, 7 characteristics. Mrs. Gren. M for movement, R for respiration, S for sensitivity, G for growth, R for reproduction, E for excretion, and N for nutrition. Okay? So movement is an action by an organism or part of an organism to change its position from place to place. Movement. Respiration are chemical reactions that break down nutrient molecules in living cells to release energy for metabolism. Respiration is what controls respiration in your cell is the mitochondria or mitochondria that control respiration. Respiration can either be aerobic respiration with oxygen, anaerobic respiration without oxygen, and it is used in many parts of your body's functions. Growth. Growth is a permanent increase in size or dry mass by an increase in cell size or number of cells or both. Reproduction is the making of more of the same kind of organism or species. Excretion is a removal of toxic materials or waste products from the body as a result of its metabolism from the organism. The main organs involved in the excretion are the liver, the kidneys, and the lungs. Nutrition is the taking in of materials for optimal energy, growth, and development. Characteristics of life depends on each other. So basically what I mean by this is that organisms can only grow and if they are natured as they take nourishment from the environment and they produce waste materials or excrete out. So basically organisms, for an organism to grow, okay, they must be nourished. How are they nourished? They are nourished by taking in nourishment or nutrients from their environment, correct? So the organisms in living things and their ability to carry their process, it depends on the energy, overall intake, and expenditure. 2 short facts. Living things show variation, offspring, and different from parents to one another. Living things have a complex organization. There's not found in non-living world. Alright, classification. So classification is the science of placing organisms in 2 categories of their observable characteristics. Okay, so we have a hierarchy of classification. Okay, starting from, I know there is domain, but it is not in our syllabus. So we're gonna start from kingdom to species. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. The kingdom example Animalia, phylum example Chordata, class example Mammalia, order example Primates, family example Hominidae, genus example Homo, and species example Homo sapiens. We are Homo sapiens, scientific name for the humans. Our genus is the Homo, our species is the sapiens. Okay, so as you're going from kingdom to species, you're getting more similarities and fewer differences. Okay, now why do we classify living things? Because variation and natural selection can lead to evolution. This evolution will lead to development of new species, and each species has unique characteristics. Some have inherited by successive generations, and some have new characteristics. So this is why classification is very important, to classify organisms into their specific groups. Species. Species is a group of organisms that can produce a fertile offspring. Species can be classified into groups by the features they share. For example, a mammals is a species. Specific traits of mammals that they share include they all have hair, they have mammary glands, and they have external ears called pinnas. Binomial system. Binomial system is a system in which organisms were first classified by the Swedish biologist Carlos Linnaeus. He started the binomial system in the Latin language. So using the binomial system, scientific name for organisms is made and it's easier for us to understand. The first part of the binomial system is a two-part naming system. The first part contains the genus name starting with a capital letter. The second part contains the species name starting with a lowercase letter. If it's typed in italics, it indicates that they are in Latin. A quick fact, Carlos gave every organism a binomial name based on entirely their body structure. The dichotomous key. Dichotomous key is a key used by taxonomists to identify organisms based on a series of questions about their features. So this is a key that we use, especially as that taxonomists use. They use this key to identify organisms based on a series of questions, usually a yes or no, to base off their features. So to successfully navigate a dichotomous key, pick a single organism to start with and follow statements from the beginning till you find its name. Then pick another organism and start from the beginning, repeating the same process all over again to find its name. The dichotomous means branching into two, so basically you're branching into two groups of answers yes or no to classify the organism. History of classification. So in the past, scientists used morphology and anatomy to classify organisms. Morphology meaning they use their external shape and qualities of the organism, like their color, shape, size, and etc. And they use their anatomy, which is detailed internal body structure by dissection. So past scientists had many problems trying to determine the evolutionary relationships of these species based on morphology and anatomy, okay, because it has many limitations and could sometimes also lead to wrong classification, okay. So as technology has advanced, classification now using microscopes, biochemistry, and DNA sequencing are used to classify organisms with a more scientific approach. DNA sequence studies has showed us that the more similar base sequences of two species of DNA, the more closely related they both are, and the more recent in time their common ancestor is. So since DNA sequences are used to code amino acids and proteins, similarities in amino acid can also determine these close relations of organisms. Now coming to the 5 kingdoms. So we have 5 kingdoms in our syllabus: the animal kingdom, plant kingdom, fungi kingdom, protists, and prokaryotes. So from these, 4 of the 5 kingdoms are eukaryotic. 1, 2, 3, 4, they have a nucleus present. Prokaryotic is the last kingdom without a nucleus present. So we will study all of them, but may not be in the same order, okay? We will start by studying the fungi kingdom. So this is a very large group of organisms, okay, that includes molds, mushrooms, and yeast, okay? There are main features of all of these fungi. They are all multicellular. The cells have a nuclei and a chitin cell wall, not a cellulose cell wall like the plant cell. Fungi do not photosynthesize. They feed by saprophytic, dead material, or parasitic host on living materials. They contain cytoplasm with a nucleus, mitochondria, and ribosomes, and they manufacture digestive enzymes. In the reproduction of fungi, they can reproduce by spores. Single yeast reproduce asexually by binary fission. The requirements of fungi. So most fungi, they need to be in a moist environment to absorb the soluble products of digestion of their food source. They need a warm environment so enzymes can work at the optimum temperature, because enzymes work best at optimum temperature, okay. Nutrient source, they need to provide raw materials and the energy required for growth. Important of fungi for humans. Do we need these? Of course. Why? Because they are decomposers. The mold fungi consumes food which may be eaten by humans. Fungi are agents of disease. They are a source of food. For example, mushrooms or yeast. This is a basic fungi cell. So you have a chitin cell wall, then you have the cell membrane, you have a nucleus, mitochondria, cytoplasm, and your ribosomes. If they are attached, then it is a rough endoplasmic reticulum. Next kingdom we're going to study is the plants kingdom. The plants kingdom are also known as autotrophs. Autotrophs meaning they are organisms that manufacture food molecules from inorganic sources by the use of photosynthesis, using light energy, capturing light energy into the chlorophyll and converting it into your food. Using light as an energy. So main features of all plants, they are all multicellular. They have a definite cellulose cell wall and not chitin cell wall. They contain cytoplasm with a chloroplast and other organelles. The plant kingdom is divided into three main groups: mosses, ferns, and seed plants. So mosses cannot grow far from the water, but ferns and angiosperms are better adapted to land. The first plants ever made were actually living in water, as some part of any plant area is always green because it contains pigment chlorophyll to capture sunlight for energy. Fungi, plants which are, ferns. Ferns are plants which are adapted to life on land. Some characteristics of ferns is that they have leaves called fronds, special leaves. They only survive in shady, humid areas. They have root stems and complex leaves and vascular tissue. They do not produce flowers. So they have these special leaves called fronds. And coming to angiosperms. Angiosperms are flowering plants. They are divided into monocotyledons and dicotyledons. Mono meaning one, di meaning two. One cotyledon seed, two cotyledon seeds. Monocotyledons contains petals in multiples of 3, so 3, 6, 9, 12, etc. They have parallel leaf veins. The dicotyledons, on the other hand, contain petals in multiples of 4 or 5, and they have reticulated leaf veins. These have parallel leaf veins. So the main characteristics of both of these is that they produce sexually by seeds or flowers. They are produced inside ovary found at the base of the flower. More than 80% of all plants are angiosperms, and flowering plants are the most successful type of plants. This is a structure of the plant cell. Don't worry, we will study this in more detail in topic 2. You have a cellulose cell wall on the outside. Okay, to protect the cell membrane, you have a cell membrane inside the cell wall, controlling these movement of materials inside and out of the cell via diffusion, osmosis, active transport, and phagocytosis. Chloroplast containing chlorophyll for photosynthesis. Ribosomes attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Ferment vacuole containing a water cell sap, and the nucleus containing the DNA material and genetic material and controlling the activities of the cell. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, providing energy and also used in respiration reactions. Yes. Angiosperm diagram out of the syllabus. We'll move on from that. And let's come to the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom includes invertebrates and vertebrates. So features of all animals, before we jump to the invertebrates, they are all multicellular. They have a nucleus. They have no cell wall and no chloroplast. They feed on organic substances. They are heterotrophic, made by other organisms. Now, invertebrates. Invertebrates are animals without a backbone. For example, arthropods. Arthropods are the largest group of invertebrates. They are part of the phylum. They are a phylum. Arthropods are the most numerous of all animals, and they are one of the morphological features to classify invertebrates is whether they have legs or not. So the arthropods contains 4 classes. It is a phylum containing 4 classes: myriapods, insects, arachnids, and crustaceans. This is your typical animal cell. You have no chloroplast and no chlorophyll, no cell wall. It's just your nucleus, cell membrane, mitochondria, cytoplasm, and rough endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes attached to it. Because of this, the animal cell is highly affected by changes in solubility and water, as water solutions move in and out of the cell, as there is no cell wall to protect it. Now let's have a look at some main features of the types of arthropods. So myriapods are arthropods that the body consists of many segments. Each segment has 1 pair of jointed legs and 1 pair of antennae. 2 legs, 2 antennae. Insects have a 3-part body: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen, like the ant. It has 3 pairs of jointed legs, 6 legs, 2 pairs of wings, 4 wings, 2 on the right, 2 on the left, 1 pair of antennae, 2 antennas. For example, the butterfly. Arachnids contains 2-part body, cephalothorax, and the abdomen, 4 pairs of jointed legs, 8 legs, and there is no antenna like the spider. Crustaceans contain more than 4 pairs of jointed legs. Exoskeleton, they contain an exoskeleton like forming of calcium. They breathe with gills and they have 2 pairs of antennae. They can live on land. Some can live on land and water at the same time, just like the crab. All arthropods have the exoskeleton, by the way. I'm not gonna explain the diagrams because they are not required, but we'll just have a quick go through of them. This is the crustacean, the crab, more than 8 pairs of jointed legs, exoskeleton formed by calcium. You have your arachnid like the spider, okay, cephalothorax and abdomen, no antenna. Then you have your insect, head, thorax, abdomen, 6 legs, okay, marapods, many segments, okay, 1 pair of antenna, and so on and so forth. Now coming to your favorite, vertebrates. Why? Because you are a vertebrate. Vertebrate is an animal with a backbone. We have 5 classes of vertebrates: fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, you're a mammal, and birds. Vertebrates have a bony internal skeleton with a backbone made of several bones, known as the vertebrae. So vertebrae, let's actually have a dichotomous key example of the vertebrates, okay? Vertebrates, all vertebrates have a backbone, alright? Do they have smooth skin? Yes, the amphibians have smooth skin, but the fish, reptile, and birds and mammals don't have smooth skin. Do they have scales? Yes, the fish and reptiles have scales, but the birds and mammals don't have scales. Do they have dry scales? Yes, the reptile has dry scales, and the fish does not have dry scales. Okay, so now let's have the look at the main features and examples of the types of vertebrates. Starting off with the mammal. The mammal, main features of the mammal include fur or hair on the skin. Just have a look at your hand, you're probably gonna find hair. They have a placenta in the females. They have mammary glands, external ears called pinnas, and they are endothermic organisms. Example, a horse, dog, or humans. Birds. Birds are vertebrates that have feathers on their skin. They have 2 legs and 2 wings. They lay eggs with hard shells on land. They have a beak and they are also endothermic. Sorry, the camera. Okay, reptiles are vertebrates with dry fixed scales on the skin. They lay eggs with rubbery shells on land. Example, your snake or Churchill's snake. Sorry, there should be an E here. There you go. Amphibians are vertebrates with a smooth, moist skin. Adults that live on land. Lamprey are ones that live in have gills and live in water. They lay eggs without shell on the land. Example, frogs and toads. Fish, they have loose, wet scales on skin. They have gills to breathe. They cannot live outside of water. They lay eggs without shells in the water. Example, a fish. I will be just skipping the diagrams, they are not important. Coming to the main tier, which is protists. So protists is a kingdom with many members of different types. The main characteristics of all protists is that they are unicellular, but some are multicellular. They do have a nucleus. Some photosynthesize and other feed on organic substances made by other organisms. Example, the euglena, which does both. There are 2 process cell examples here. It can be shaped like an animal cell or shaped like this with a flagellum. Prokaryotes. Prokaryotes is the last group of the kingdoms. Prokaryotes are organisms without any nucleus, okay? Because the other 4 have a nucleus. Prokaryotes is the only kingdom without a nucleus. Example, bacteria. It is a single-celled organism. It is a living thing, yes, but it has no true nucleus. Main features of bacteria or prokaryotes is that they are unicellular. They have a peptide-glycan cell wall and not cellulose. They have no nucleus and no mitochondria. Some photosynthesize, but other are parasitic and saprophytic. So this is a typical bacterial cell. You have glycogen, cell membrane, peptide-glycan cell wall, DNA, ribosomes not attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, so they are smooth. Plasmids and cytoplasm. And for the last part of this topic, we're going to conclude by studying the virus. The virus is a parasite that takes over a host cell's metabolic pathways to make copies of themselves and harm the host. Just think of the biological virus just like the computer virus. It is a program that will infect your computer and make copies of itself and just keep spreading throughout, like the Trojan horse or worms. Likewise, that's what the virus does, okay? For example, COVID-19. COVID-19 is or also known as a coronavirus, was a very, let's say, popular and dangerous virus, especially during the time lapse of 2019 to late 2022. All right. And this virus, okay, was when seen under an electron microscope. It had spikes that stuck out from it that formed the protein coat, locking it as a crown. So this is why we call it a corona, because the corona means crown in Latin. But that's not important here, okay? So viruses are not part of any classification system because they are a non-living thing, okay? They do not carry these 7 life processes, Mrs. Gren: movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. The virus structure is simply just a genetic material or DNA inside a protein coat. Genetic material inside a protein coat. That's basically it. And that was it for topic 1, classification and organization of living organisms of biology 0610 Cambridge IGCSE. Any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.